Hello, everyone, and welcome to our customer conversations. Before we get started, would like to point your attention to the QR code on the screen. If you're interested in finding amazing webinars like this in the future, or just understanding where Ridgeline is going to be in the market, please scan the QR code, go to our events page so that you can check out all of the amazing webinars and events that our team puts on. And again, welcome to our customer conversation. I'm Sterling Perkins, Director of Solutions Consulting here at Ridgeline, and I am incredibly excited to be your host today. This is our webinar series where we spotlight leaders across the investment management industry who are driving meaningful change through technology. As we think about our focus today, we're going to be focusing solely on wealth management and how firms can truly maintain a high touch client experience while scaling efficiently. Our goal is to share a real practical story from a Ridgeline customer on how they said yes to growth, staying lean, and unlocking capacity using a unified front to back platform with embedded AI throughout that is Ridgeline. Today, I am pleased to be joined by Jeff Kachel from Tower Bridge Advisors. For those who may not be familiar, Tower Bridge Advisors is a Philadelphia based registered investment advisor providing private wealth management services to high net worth individuals, families, and as well as select institutions. The firm builds customized portfolios and emphasizes long term, research driven investing, fiduciary alignment, and highly personalized client service. Jeff brings a uniquely hands on perspective as well when we think about Tower Bridge. He serves not only as a portfolio manager actively engaged in the day to day investment process, but he's also the firm's chief financial officer, chief technology officer. And so his role spans across investment management, operations, finance, and technology leadership, allowing him to truly align the firm's infrastructure and strategy with the practical realities of delivering a high touch client experience. He's responsible for ensuring the platform can scale so that not only the Ridgeline platform, but his entire technology stack, while maintaining transparency, reporting standards, and control clients can expect. Jeff, we are thrilled to have you here with us today. Your responsibilities are incredibly impressive, and thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, Sterling. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to cover a lot today, Jeff. Really wanted to start from the beginning, right? So before we get into a demo, I'd love to rewind a bit and just talk about the journey that brought you to Ridgeline. When you look back a couple of years, what were the key challenges or limitations you were facing that prompted you to evaluate Ridgeline and overall your technology stack?
We knew that we needed to upgrade our portfolio management system in order to create three efficiencies: give our portfolio managers the ability to manage accounts and create trades more easily, and be able to scale the number of accounts per PM. We wanted to also reduce the manual effort required by the back office staff that was required to maintain daily cash balances and transactions for each account. And finally, we wanted to provide an enhanced customer experience with respect to reporting.
Amazing. And in particular, how are you managing those client relationships and visibility across your household, reporting, and the day to day workflows generally across the business?
Each of our client relationships is unique, whether it be the client asset mix, particular investments, or reporting requirements. Our day to day workflows required that our accounts held across 15 custodians reflected the cash balance and transactions at each custodian. A daily reconciliation to these custodians was the first requirement for a new system. We had many other system requests, such as the ability to automatically generate and place trades for money market funds, upload our quarterly management fees to each custodian in an easy fashion, and to extract data from the system for internal purposes. We wanted to make our quarterly closing and reporting process require much less time.
Amazing. And how did Ridgeline first come, up on your radar when you were starting to evaluate options?
I first read about Ridgeline in an industry publication of investment management systems in early 2024, then through a direct dialogue with an internal sales rep in mid 2024.
Shout out to the marketing team for getting us in the investment management article that you read. And thank you for outlining that. What did you see in the early conversations or demos that made you think that we may be different than the rest of the market as you think back to your time evaluating?
Our first on site demo was heavily focused on trading, showing us the ability to create equity and fixed income orders by the managers, and then how to route those orders by our head of trading to each of our custodians. We previously utilized batch processes, and there was a difference for what the managers could see versus the back office, as well as an overnight batch process to pull those processes together.
Amazing. And you mentioned that trading demo. So was there a moment during the evaluation when you were seeing that end-to-end trading workflow in one platform versus your prior batch-driven process and maybe disconnected processes? when it came clear that Ridgeline was the right decision for both scalability and employee experience?
Right from the start, it was evident that Ridgeline was one system. The managers and the back office could see everything in real time, no waiting for an overnight batch to update various parts of the system. We also wanted to find a company and system that was heavily investing in their product and planning to take advantage of AI capabilities. As we all evaluated Ridgeline and other systems, we wanted to find the right system that would be used as a tool to track future employees and managers and be able to scale as we added accounts. The employee user experience was one key metric that we evaluated heavily.
Amazing. And so what I would love to do is go through a couple of the pain points that we had, you had talked about for your evaluation. And maybe you can provide some concrete examples on how your business changed in each of those areas. So the first being manual workflows across billing, reporting, reconciliation, and operations.
Sure, many of our custodians did not have a daily interface to our prior system. We had to manually add transactions on a daily basis. This has changed with Ridgeline. Rather than adding transactions each morning to update cash, we now have live data first thing each morning. On a
Shit.
quarterly basis, also, many of our custodian billing processes were manual. We can now create templates and upload for management fees.
Sounds like we've seen some nice efficiency gains there. As you think about maybe limited visibility for PMs across households, portfolios, positions, and cash, something that we'll take a look at in the demo in a bit.
Sure. PMs can now see their accounts in a dashboard setting, what is important to them, and there is flexibility with what each manager desires. We can also set up automated scheduling and emailing or downloading of various reports.
But why was modernization and operational scalability so increasingly important as you thought about your business growing?
Being able to hire the next generation of both portfolio managers and back office staff is very important. Those users want a system that is both flexible and easy to use and navigate. We did not want our portfolio management system to be a hindrance to adding future employees, but rather an enticement.
Yep. That's something we hear quite often is that the next generation wants to work in next generation technology. So glad to hear that that was something you were focusing on. And maybe last on the important points during the evaluation, how important was it to have a unified platform as well as one that's continuously innovating as part of, as part of your evaluation? Was that weighted in that?
It was. A unified platform was important to us for obvious reasons. The ability for us to run and adjust the quarter end process and not rely on a one and done batch approach was key. We also liked the fact that system upgrades were available to all clients on a weekly basis without the need to manually upgrade software. This will allow TowerBridge to take advantage of system upgrades as functionality is rolled out across the entire user base.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing as we kind of rolled back and went to your evaluation. And we'd love to make that real for the folks that are on the line today. So, what I would love to do is now jump into the platform. We'll go through a couple of the workflows that you touched on. We'll be focusing on the unified data model. We'll look at some dashboarding. We'll go into some household views that you've shared were so meaningful. We'll look at reporting, and then we'll end in kind of the portfolio modeling and reconciliation area. It's going to be a bit of a flyby, right? We're going to try and nail this in just a couple of minutes here. But if there's anything you can add from a color perspective, would love to have that as well. So let me go ahead and bring up my screen here. So just as a quick overview for those that haven't seen the Ridgeline platform in the past, what you're seeing here is an incredibly flexible, modern, intuitive platform that's designed as a full front to back system that really comes to life when I pull that left hand side navigation out. So this is where you can see client management, trade order management, operations reporting, all with embedded AI throughout the experience. In this case, given we're having a conversation with Jeff here on the wealth side, I went ahead and looked at a My Book of Business view. So, more of the advisor's lens, looking at their assets under management, the ability to look at My Book of Business, as well as any tasks or cash activity. And similar to the entire platform, this entire experience is completely configurable. So, if there's different dashboards that you'd like to set up based upon in the different hats that Jeff wears, for example, his PM hat may look very different than his CTO hat and the different data he wants to look at. And as advisors or other individual users of the platform, you also have the flexibility to adjust and remove any of these widgets on the fly as well. So, incredibly modern, intuitive platform here. And as we talked about, one of the areas that we wanted to focus on here is really bringing that unified household view in. And Ridgeline does a very good job here. So, for example, we're going to go ahead and look at Carrie and Jack Phillips, one of our sample households here. And we're using our universal search to do that. You can see universal search is a great way to navigate throughout the entire platform. So as I pull up this household here, one of the things that Jeff, you had focused on was getting a single view to be able to realize any of the data you need. So be able to see accounts, holdings, relationships, notes, activities. And so we'll touch on a lot of that here and stop me if there's anywhere you think is incredibly valuable. One of the areas that you land on here is our Investor 360 page for the Carrie and Jack Phillips household. What we're looking at is really the KPIs at the top and then an overview of the entire relationship directly when we land on this page. Now, when I spent my beginning of my career as an advisor at Baird, building a book of business, and I know how hard it is to get all of that data into one place. And so being able to go into portfolios and get real time data associated to any of these given portfolios, you can see the ability to support sleeves as well or different account types. And so if I click on any one of these, let's just go ahead and grab the Jack Phillips equity sleeve here. We also are going to get all that investment information that Jeff, you were talking about was so valuable to have in one place. Ridgeline is also real time. So you'll see we're actually calculating all of this performance directly with real time data. And as we come down, we're seeing that return versus the benchmark, AUM growth. And then we also can see all that position and transaction data here without going off and having to run anything to get into any other area. You can also generate reports here as well. Jeff, I'll pause here. Any comments on being a user of the system, any value that you've had when you've come in and have all of this in one place?
As you can see, this is a great spot where a manager can now see for a given client all of the accounts from a dashboard setting, as well as performance, transactions, and balances without the need to run and refer to separate reports. Each of our managers here at Tower Bridge has configured their dashboard to what they want to see, and it's very user friendly. So that's a huge benefit that we have. Previously, we'd have to run separate reports, download things to Excel, maybe create some formulas to get the data in the format that we need. But as you could see, everything's available here with different tabs. It's very easy to navigate.
Amazing. Glad to hear that. As we continue to move through, I'm just going to make two more stops here on our client 360 page and these other tabs. The first is within activities. So this is that more traditional CRM capability to log call reports, calendar events. You're able to see AI in a couple of different areas here as well. The ability to summarize using our natural language companion, the Ridgeline Assistant, which will pop up and can generate summaries of all of the data that's been pulled in, whether those are from emails that have been looped in from our Outlook integration or if it's just pulling in all of the data there. We also get the AI insights associated to the content within those activities and the ability to see all of that as well. Now, one other area, Jeff, that you had talked about was client management and the ability to report and get a lot of the content here directly inside of our experience. So we do have the ability to have a bi-directional document vault. I know this is something we're going to touch on in a bit around your custom and your client reporting and the ability to push those to the client portal. But for example, we can just go ahead and download one of these statements here that may have been shared in this bidirectional document vault. And it really shows off the flexibility and the ability for us to create really highly designed reports. And you can see a couple of different views here on statements that have been sent for this household. So one to show those off. I know there's also an entire reporting suite that we can touch on deeper, but would love to just talk about kind of what you found, Jeff, around reporting and how you're thinking about using the tool to then deliver those reports as well.
Sure. Client reports are delivered to clients in various ways, printed, via portal, or email. And we utilize all three of those methods. We have the ability to customize by client and in an easy method. As soon as our quarterly process is run, we have the instant visibility to our revenues, and we could also compare the cash balance in each account in relation to the fee prior to submitting it to the custodian. So, Ridgeline has many, ways that we can report, and the reporting, is very effective.
Absolutely. And we can save that for another demo in the future, but we do have, I'll just do a little teaser here, a full reporting suite. And let me just go in here. We have the ability to go in and actually create reports. So whether that's a holdings report, performance report, transaction report, you want to blend that data throughout the experience. You can see here in our demo environment, we've created 292 different reports. About 50 come out of the box with Ridgeline. The rest have been created by myself or members of our amazing team just to help show off the flexibility and the capabilities here within our Ridgeline reporting suite. Now, the last area, Jeff, that I wanted to jump over to is some workflows around the actual trading process. Now, you are in the system as a PM, actually getting into the weeds here. And so what I've done is I've pulled up our portfolio modeling screen, once again, using that great favorites feature to navigate over to it. And I've created a view here just for the portfolio group view. We're looking at that same household that we saw earlier here, the Carrie and Jack Phillips. But at the same time, if I wanted to go in and create different views, I'm sure that you have a whole view, whole group of views that you use on a regular basis. So you also are definitely more in the weeds on the PM side. It's been a while since I was a PM at Baird. So any of my trades that I'm about to sample here, don't judge me. All right, Jeff?
No problem.
But would love to get in. So a couple of the areas that you had talked about is really getting in the ability to go and trade across the entire book of business or see different ways that you can do so. And so in this case, I can see I have multiple mutual funds or ETFs. I can expand all of my equities. And these aren't just in a single portfolio. For example, I can also see organized. If they're owned by multiple portfolios at once, I can see which of those portfolios are held. And so in this case, if I wanted to change a position, and let's say I just wanted to make a 50 basis point or a 500 basis point in that case, because I fat fingered it, you're going to see that adjustment. We can see that sell here. So, Jeff, what you're going to see me do, and again, it's been a while since I've been a PM at Baird, so don't judge any of my trades here as we go through. But what we're going to do here is what you can see I've set up that view. I have a couple of different asset classes that I've broken it out by. In this case, let's go ahead and expand our mutual funds and ETFs. And I can also see that in any of these given positions, I can also see all the portfolios. So I'm not just having to look at one single portfolio or one single position. It's aggregating in this particular view in the way that I would like. So in this case, let's say that I wanted to make a small trade on any of these given positions. Let's say I wanted to make a 50 basis point adjustment here on this position. We're going to then see it's going to adjust as much as it can based upon the cash that I have in this particular trade. And then I can see any of the positions that are owned within that particular portfolio. It's then going to adjust directly. So a lot of power to not only make adjustments in one given position, but I could also do it if I wanted to look at any of additional mutual funds. Let's say we've gotten some serious positions here. I can go in and make adjustments, and it's going to adjust based upon what I can. We also have the compliance directly built into the system. So, Jeff, you can maybe comment on having that as well once we get through this process, and then we can actually send that order back down to the trade blotter. So I'll pause here. Jeff, you're the expert using this system all the time. What are some of the values that you found as having this portfolio modeling screen to your access?
Yeah, so it's very easy to model portfolios. As showed us just a couple minutes ago, there's various ways to create orders. You can either buy a security with a given percentage, or if you own a security and want to increase it, you can enter the target ending percentage and it'll create the orders, whether they're buys or sells, both ways. The other thing that we have is a pretty robust compliance back end where we've pre-programmed any restricted securities, various weightings, same thing for industry weightings, and all of that is taken into account when we're trading. So it doesn't have to be looked up manually. It's all automated. And that's been a huge benefit. One of the other items is creating orders to invest your cash balance. So if you've got and you're managing a few hundred portfolios, and at the end of the quarter or weekly, you want to make sure your maximum amount of cash it is invested in mutual fund. Ridgeline will create those orders automatically by portfolio if you tell it what is my minimum cash holding that I want to hold. So if it's 0.5% of cash, it will create those orders by portfolio for the respective short-term vehicle that's at each custodian. And that's a great efficiency enhancer. Previously, we had to create all of those orders manually. And, throughout the quarter, the client's going to benefit if it's easier to invest cash as you go. So that was a big, plus of moving to Ridgeline, in addition to all the other functionality that, you just demoed.
Amazing. That was fantastic. Thank you, Jeff, for that color. I'm going to stop one last place here that we had talked about doing some reconciliation here. So I'm going to go in and move over to our recon. Going to grab a date that we have some good data for. And what the folks are going to see here is, again, Ridgeline is a full front to back system. We have that real time data, and we're getting all of that data overnight for reconciliation because we have our own system is going to, we're going to take a look at now, Jeff, is reconciliation. And so when we look at the Ridgeline platform, the majority, for the folks that haven't seen this before, the majority of recon is done by a rules-based system. So you're knocking out 80 to 90% of reconciliation before it's actually going in and what we're going to see in this Ridgeline AI assisted reconciliation agent. And so what we have done is taking all of the roll ups and all of the exceptions that are left, we have this amazing recon agent that what it does is it looks at all the position and transaction data, all the confidence in how you have reconciled data in the past, and then will basically present it in an inbox style solution. So what we're looking at here is a Microsoft break. It has 10-cent dividend break across the platform. And you can see it's done across 36 transactions for 18 different portfolios. Now, if I wanted to do a more traditional view and actually get in and look at all the details, you do have the ability to still go in and see the match confidence for this particular Microsoft break is 99% based upon all of the data that it knows. You can see it's a 10-cent break there. And based upon the information that the AI assistant or the AI agent is giving me, it knows that the last 20 occurrences have been simply accepted by the custodian. In this case, how we can accept the custodian. However, if we wanted to train this AI agent, you also have the ability to select things like defer to settlement date and use natural language to tell it why you were deferring. Same thing with ignoring. So, a lot of power when we think about our customers that are reconciling their data faster. They're using tools, not only our rules based solution, they're also using the tools like this. And so, Jeff, any color you'd like to add around how you're doing reconciliation, how it's been sped up throughout the process by moving to Ridgeline?
Sure. Like I mentioned earlier, our prior system did not have a link for all of our custodians. We had some, but with Ridgeline, we've linked all of our accounts to the custodians, and we've set up mapping rules to take in data according to each custodian. So custodian A might transfer or call a contribution differently than the next custodian. So we've created all those mappings for each custodian. And that, like you said, captures probably 90 or 95% of the transactions on a daily basis in an automated fashion. But there are transactions that might be one-offs or occur monthly or quarterly, might be some form of a dividend reinvestment or a mutual fund interest that's paid. And by using the data, the AI agents, it can predict with a confidence interval what that transaction, how it should be posted. And you could automate and further, accept those based on the confidence level. If it's a lower level, you can investigate it before you accept it, but it's proven to be, very effective for us.
Amazing. Well, thank you for kind of going on this journey with me through the demo here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So it's just the two of us again here. And Jeff, now would love to kind of fast forward into after you've completed the selection process, the next step that you went under was a large scale implementation, right? This is the daunting part that our customers always come to us and ask us about. And so would love to talk about, kind of how you've set up for success as well as that process in general, as it's really where the combined vision starts to become reality, right? So how did you prepare your team when you made the decision to move to Ridgeline? How did you prepare your team for a transition like this?
All members of the firm were included in the decision-making process as well as the implementation. We involved both the PMs and the operational units, and we felt that each person needed to have input, but also an understanding of the goals and how to get there. So it's really important to get, buy off from everybody.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you involving everyone from the start. I think it does help. And that's what we've seen for our customers today. When you think about the day to day, what did that day to day look like for during implementation? How much did it change for your business? And kind of walk us through that.
Our implementation began in June of 2025, and we started off with many weekly meetings via Zoom. Ridgeline first documented our processes. We then moved to data that would be needed for the conversion. And internally, we began to gather data by account with the goal of populating various schedules set up by Ridgeline. There was then a period of time where we began to ingest the data from our custodians, which eventually led to a parallel comparison of the new system to the old. But this was really, managed and kind of kept on track with various members of the Ridgeline team. Everybody had a specific function. We had a manager that kind of made sure that we were on track. We had an interface team, and then we had specialists along the way. A transaction team, a reporting team, performance team, and that allowed us to get all of the data into the system. And then there were a lot of checks and balances that was performed as we went through the conversion.
We certainly like to make sure that you have ample people around you when you're going through a process like this. And we recognize, conversions are rarely easy. Most firms don't look forward to going through one. It's a bit of an open heart surgery while the business is still running. And so when you think about your implementation and all those amazing processes that were around it, What made it feel different? How did the Ridgeline team help your team avoid feeling like this is simply a lift and shift of a legacy process, and it was a true modernization of workflows to improve your reporting along the
Well, conversions are never easy or fun. They require a lot of extra time on top of everybody's daily workload. But Ridgeline was there to keep all of us on track. And if things fell behind, there was a plan to get back on track. The complexity of a conversion requires that good data be ported to the new system. And there were many checks and balances along the way to ensure a successful conversion. During the latter phase of implementation, we all collectively thought of new ways to accomplish the same goals of efficient reporting. And just because we did something one way with our prior system didn't mean that's the way we had to do it in a new system. So we kind of took a fresh look at how can we accomplish the end goal. And Ridgeline helped us to do that.
amazing. Well, you certainly were a leader that was helping as well. You've been really thinking about forward looking and innovation in ways that you can drive your technology to scale with the business. And so we appreciate the partnership and that innovation mindset. When you look ahead, and our two organizations are incredibly strategic, and we focus on innovation and continuous advancement. With those shared goals, we've had an opportunity to not only support Tower Bridge's current needs, but also to shape where the platform is going more broadly. And so, as you think about the future, how are you thinking about AI with your business, and what are you most focused on from an operational efficiency standpoint?
AI is important to everyone at Tower Bridge. We're focused on creating daily efficiency for the back office, such as reconciling custodian data using the AI agents through the portfolio management process and automation that can be considered on behalf of our valued clients. So I know AI is changing, but it's really important to have a partner that is placing the same value on AI.
Love that. And I know we talked about the versionless model and the continuous stream of updates previously. It was something that you were interested in, made sure that was part of your evaluation process. But how has it been in practice? How has it been to actually feel the updates coming every Friday, your team getting new features? What's that been like within your organization?
Yeah, it's been great. We have a dedicated manager that oversees our account. And right now, the ability to receive those system updates weekly for all users creates efficiencies, and we benefit from enhancements requested by other clients. So it's a great documented process. It happens weekly, and it's completely seamless to us. There's no system updates or patches that we need to apply.
Love it. And so as you're sitting here, using the platform and looking out to some of the webinar attendees here, some other wealth firms, what advice would you share for the firms that are sitting where you were a few years ago, sitting on a legacy system, feeling the strain of those manual processes, but they're hesitant to make that big move, the big implementation that you just went through?
I think the one key thing is don't put off future benefits by waiting to make a decision. Decide what are the most important goals for your business and create a list of priorities. Then focus on those priorities and quantify each one. What will the benefit be? And at the end of the due diligence effort, make a decision and move forward. The implementation will require a lot of time and effort, but Ridgeline has proven to me that they can have a process and they are considerate of what it will take from a firm to undergo such a task.
Amazing. And I know we're running up here on time, so would love to wrap up here. But Jeff, just want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a thoughtful look into your journey from evaluation to implementation, how you're using Ridgeline today, to continue to scale your high touch wealth management firm across your households, as well as give all the team the tools that you were looking for. And so it's been really inspiring to hear how Tower Bridge continues to evolve while staying true to its fiduciary responsibilities, as well as the commitment that you have to personalized service within your customer base. And so before we wrap up, I have one last thing I want to touch on, selfishly want to bring up is Basecamp. I know that you're coming to Basecamp in September in San Diego. You've attended multiple Basecamps over the years and have been such a strong partner along the way. For those that are not familiar, could you share a little bit about your experience and why you believe Basecamp is so valuable for both customers and prospects to join us in San Diego this year?
Sure. Like you said, Sterling, I attended two base camps in the past, and base camp is one of the best opportunities to really get to know Ridgeline. It brings together customers, prospects, and the entire Ridgeline team all in one place. You'll be able to speak to existing customers, firms that are currently evaluating Ridgeline, and have direct conversations with the people actively building the platform. The innovation kiosks are especially valuable because you can engage directly with a product manager, owners, and solution consultants to better understand both the current platform and where the platform might be headed. It's also a great opportunity to exchange ideas with peers across the industry and learn how other firms are approaching similar challenges. If you want to understand the full vision of Ridgeline, Basecamp is definitely a good place to do it.
Appreciate the shout out on the innovation kiosks. You'll find me there at Basecamp as well. But thank you, Jeff, again for the time today. It's been so great to have you here today. You've been a phenomenal partner of Ridgeline just in general, and we appreciate the opportunity to be of service. For everyone tuning in, appreciate your time with us today for this customer conversation session. We'll be back with another conversation featuring one of our incredible customers, and stay tuned for all of the amazing things we have going on. I will share my screen one more time here just to show off the QR code. So please scan the QR code to find everything that we are doing in the market, additional webinars like this one with amazing customers. And again, Jeff, thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, Sterling. Great to be with you.
Have a good day.